Egypt is the gift of the Nile. These are the words of Herodotus, the father of history. And he was right. The Nile's waters did not only fertilize the land, they also nourished the culture, the religion, and the identity of one of the most enduring civilizations in human history. But before the pyramids, before the pharaohs, before the great stone temples that still defy time, there was a long period that laid the foundations of Egyptian civilization. We call it the pre-dynastic period, a remote era from the Neolithic to the unification of Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BC. It was then that small groups of farmers and artisans slowly became the ancestral people who would change the course of the ancient world. We do not know exactly when humans arrived in the Nile Valley. The earliest traces date back to the Paleolithic, hunters and gatherers moving along the river. With the Neolithic, everything changed. Agriculture became the main source of survival. They domesticated plants and animals. They settled into permanent communities. The Nile's annual floods provided fertile soil, ensuring abundant harvests. But life was not only about food. Signs of spirituality and symbolism appear very early. At Nabta Playa, a Neolithic site southwest of the valley, megalithic stone circles were erected. Many scholars believe they had religious or astronomical purposes. For some, they are the first evidence of Egypt's profound link with the cosmos and the divine. The next great step was the Badarian culture, discovered in El Badari, Upper Egypt. The Badarians lived from agriculture. They cultivated wheat, barley, lentils, and tubers. They raised cattle, sheep, and goats. Even their animals received ceremonial burials, a sign of a symbolic and spiritual bond with animal life. They crafted tools such as sickles, arrowheads, and axes. But their most distinctive legacy is the black-topped pottery, polished with surprising technical skill. Their burials reveal social organization, bodies in fetal position, wrapped in mats or animal skins, accompanied by personal objects, shells, amulets, ivory figurines, and copper ornaments. We can already see early social stratification. Some graves were richer and placed apart. The first glimpse of the hierarchy that would later define Pharaonic Egypt. The Naqada culture, 4500 to 3000 BC. After the Badarians came the culture that shaped historical Egypt, the Naqada culture. It developed in 3 phases. Naqada I, or Amratian, from 4500 to 3500 BC. They coexisted with the Badarians, but eventually replaced them. Small farming villages, art flourished. Fertility figurines, and representations of bearded men, perhaps symbols of leadership. Naqada II, or Gurzian. From 3500 to 3200 BCA, decisive leap forward. Agriculture advanced through artificial irrigation. Hunting became less important. Villages grew into the first true cities. Art and symbolism expanded. Pottery with complex motifs, stone palettes shaped like animals or shields, early forms of the ceremonial palettes of dynastic Egypt. Metallurgy improved, especially with copper. Trade with Mesopotamia and Asia began. exchanging ideas, objects, and symbols. Monumental architecture also appeared. At Nekhen, or Hierakonpolis, sacred center of Horus, a large ritual enclosure was built, an oval courtyard, surrounded by wooden and reed structures, the direct ancestor of the funerary complexes that would culminate in the step pyramid of Djoser. Naqada III, or Proto-Dynastic, from 3200 to 3000 BC. Also known as Dynasty 0, here we meet the first kings of Upper Egypt, rulers who wore the white crown, rulers considered living manifestations of the gods. Art from this period shows scenes of power and conquest. The most famous example, the Narmer palette. A king, possibly Narmer himself, is shown wearing both crowns, Upper and Lower Egypt united. This was the dawn of pharaonic ideology, the king as the living Horus. Horus and the vulture goddess Nekhbet as symbols of Upper Egypt. Set and the cobra goddess Wadjet representing Lower Egypt. The conflict between these gods mirrored the political struggles of the time. Finally, the followers of Horus triumphed. They defeated the followers of Set. They consolidated the supremacy of Upper Egypt. And they paved the way for Narmer's unification around 3100 BC. The pre-dynastic period was one of the most crucial stages in human history. It was the time when small Neolithic farming communities transformed into organized societies, with hierarchies, religion, and symbols of power. It was the time when the seeds of art, writing, architecture, and spirituality were sown. Seeds that would define Egypt for more than 3,000 years. Without Badari, without Naqada, there would be no pharaohs, no pyramids, no temples. It was in this period that the Egyptian identity was forged, an identity that marked the beginning of one of the most influential, mysterious, and enduring civilizations in the history of mankind. The rise of Narmer is the rise of Egypt itself, the moment when two lands became one kingdom and history began to remember. In the beginning, around 3100 BC, Narmer emerges as the king who would unite Upper and Lower Egypt. His reign marks the founding of Dynasty 1, the dawn of a civilization destined for greatness. Narmer ruled from Tinis, later from Memphis. He married Neith-hotep, aligning political power and symbolism. He commissioned great temples and monuments that announced his authority. Through military campaigns into Nubia, Sinai, and Libya, he expanded his realm. Through the Paletta de Narmer, the imagery of both crowns, the symbolism of two lands, he claimed unity, not just by force, but by ideology. After Narmer, Neith-hotep may have served as regent or even queen. Hor-Aha built upon his father's legacy, rituals, tombs, mastabas. Den ruled long, the first to wear both crowns officially. Mer-Neith, mother regent, held influence, maybe ruled in her own right. The pharaoh stood supreme, political leader, religious icon, military commander. Writing emerges, early hieroglyphs used for names, decrees, records. Religion formalizes, cults like Apis. Idea of Ma'at, the harmony that must be preserved. Campaigns to Nubia, Sinai and Libya, resources flowing in. Agriculture perfected. Irrigation, avoiding overcrowding. Trade and construction flourished. Each ruler pushed a bit further. More temples, more trade, more centralized power. Dates remain approximate. Menes versus Narmer. Identity debated. Symbols like the Narmer palette may represent ideology more than literal conquests. The first dynasty laid the cornerstone of what Egypt would become. It built the first framework of kingship, writing, religion, just rule. Narmer and his successors showed that unity, order, a centralized authority were possible. Without them, there would be no Old Kingdom, no pyramids towering at Giza, no millennia of pharaonic culture. Their legacy is not just in stone and tombs, but in the idea of Egypt. A kingdom between two lands, ruled by a ruler who symbolized the whole. In the heart of the ancient world, a civilization was awakening, its kings shaping eternity from the sands of time. The first dynasty had united Egypt, but it was the second that would test the strength of that unity. History, wrote the great Egyptologist James Henry Breasted, is but the story of the human race seeking to express its soul. And nowhere was that soul more enduring than in Egypt. Around 2890 BCE, Egypt entered a new era. The Second Dynasty was born, a time of consolidation, mystery, and the first true test of royal power. The throne passed through rulers such as Hotep-Sekemwi, Peribsen, and Kasekemwi, names now half lost to history, but whose actions shaped the destiny of a nation. The capital likely remained in Thinis or Memphis as the young kingdom grew more centralized. Bureaucrats began to manage taxes, justice, and trade. Egypt was learning to govern itself, not just through divine kingship, but through administration and law. Yet, beneath the calm surface, shadows stirred. Evidence suggests internal conflicts between the upper and lower kingdoms, perhaps even civil war. Pharaoh Peribsen shocked tradition by replacing the god Horus with Seth on his royal seal, a symbol of division between north and south. But his successor, Kasekemwi, achieved what few thought possible. He restored unity, adopting both symbols, Horus and Seth, as his divine protectors. Under his reign, Egypt stood whole once again. This fragile peace would pave the way for something far greater, the dawn of Egypt's first golden age. By 2686 BCE, a new dynasty rose. The Third Dynasty, led by King Djoser. With him came one of history's greatest revolutions, architecture in stone. Guided by his visionary architect, Imhotep, Djoser built the step pyramid of Saqqara, the first monument of its kind on Earth. A mountain of limestone rising toward the heavens to house the eternal soul of a god-king. This marked the beginning of what historians now call the Old Kingdom, the Age of the Pyramids.
Over the next centuries, pharaohs would compete not in battle, but in stone. Sneferu, founder of the 4th dynasty, perfected pyramid design, building not one but 3 great pyramids, including the majestic Red Pyramid of Dashur. His son, Khufu, took this vision to divine heights, commissioning the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. A structure so precise that even today, its secrets challenge modern engineers. His successors, Khafre and Menkore, continued the legacy, building their own pyramids beside his, and leaving us the enigmatic Sphinx, guardian of the desert. Egypt during the Old Kingdom reached its first great peak, politically, culturally, and spiritually. The pharaoh was no longer just a ruler. He was the living god Horus, the link between the human and the divine. Trade expanded to Nubia, Sinai, and the Levant. Ships sailed down the Red Sea in search of gold, copper, and incense. Artists, sculptors, and scribes flourished, carving the first expressions of eternal art. But even the brightest sun must set. By 2181 BCE, after centuries of splendor, the kingdom began to crumble. Prolonged drought, internal corruption, and regional rivalries shattered the centralized power. The long reign of Pepi II, perhaps over 90 years, weakened royal authority, and Egypt descended into the first intermediate period, an age of famine and division. Yet even in decline, the Old Kingdom left an immortal legacy. It gave the world the concept of eternity in stone, the divine kingship of Pharaoh, and an artistic canon that would endure for 3,000 years. Modern genetic and archaeological studies, such as the 2025 Nuweirat Genome Project, reveal that Egypt's earliest elites carried ancestry from both North Africa and the Fertile Crescent, proof of the ancient exchange that forged one of humanity's greatest civilizations. From the uncertain dawn of the 2nd dynasty to the monumental glory of the Old Kingdom, Egypt had proven one thing beyond doubt: that time itself could be conquered. "All things fear time," wrote the poet, "but time fears the pyramids."
From ruin comes strength. From silence, a new voice rises. Egypt had known glory, and it had known collapse. The pyramids stood silent, monuments to gods and kings, but the throne was empty. Fields turned barren, provinces rebelled, and the Nile, once a river of life, carried whispers of famine and despair. For more than a century, Egypt walked in darkness, an empire broken, a kingdom forgotten. Yet history teaches us this: from dust, the great rise again. Around 2050 BCE, in the deserts of Thebes, a leader emerged. Not born in the splendor of Memphis, but forged in the fires of civil war. Mentuhotep II, the restorer, the unifier, the bringer of order. With steel and faith, he reclaimed the 2 lands, Upper and Lower Egypt, bound once more under one crown. He healed the nation, not with monuments of stone, but with unity, discipline, and resolve. And so began the Middle Kingdom, Egypt's age of rebirth. Thebes became the heart of a new Egypt. Temples rose again. Fields flourished under the blessing of a revived Nile. Justice returned, carved not just in stone, but in the hearts of a people rediscovering hope. Pharaoh ruled not as a distant god-king, but as a shepherd of the nation, protector of the weak, judge of the wicked, father of the land. A new order, a new vision, a new Egypt. Then came the kings who turned rebirth into empire. Amenemhat I, the strategist. A ruler bold enough to build a capital from nothing, Ichitawi, center of power, symbol of renewal. Yet even kings know betrayal. Amenemhat fell by assassins' blades. His death echoed through time, remembered in ancient texts whispering warnings of treachery. But Egypt did not fall, because destiny had chosen another. Senuseret I, warrior of the south, conqueror of Nubia, guardian of the Nile's borders. Under his reign, fortresses rose, trade flourished, pyramids returned, not as grand tombs of vanity, but as symbols of stability and tradition, reborn. And after him came Senuseret III, a king whose name struck fear across lands. His campaigns carved Egypt's power deep into Nubia and beyond. Warrior, builder, legend. Some even whispered he was a god in life. But Egypt's greatness was not only in stone or steel. It lived in thought, in article, in words. This era gave birth to philosophers and poets, to wisdom texts that shaped a civilization's soul. Be humble, be just, for the righteous shall flourish. This was not merely a kingdom of conquest, but a kingdom of wisdom. A people once starved of hope now drank deeply from the well of rebirth. Engineers carved canals that tamed the Nile's floods. Farmers turned desert dust into life. Scribes recorded knowledge. Priests restored ancient rites, and the gods smiled once more upon the two lands. Egypt stood again, proud, unbroken, eternal. A phoenix risen from its ashes of sand. But even the brightest dawn holds a quiet warning. Borders stretched thin. Enemies watched from distant dunes, and beyond the horizon new forces stirred. Whispers of foreign kings, strangers from the east, and a name that would soon carve fear into Egyptian stone, the Hyksos. But that story belongs to another chapter. The Middle Kingdom was more than rebirth. It was the soul of Egypt rediscovered. A time when kings ruled with wisdom, when artists shaped eternity, when the Nile sang again. Monuments may crumble, rulers may fall, but the spirit of rebirth, that endures. For Egypt taught us this: to live again is not to simply rise, but to rise wiser, stronger, and eternal. The Middle Kingdom, not just the return of Egypt, but the rebirth of civilization itself. Even in the silence of ruins, the future waits to rise. Egypt had collapsed, its rulers gone, its provinces fractured, and the Nile, once Egypt's lifeline, carried the murmur of hunger and unrest. For more than a century, the two lands wandered without direction. But in Thebes, a leader emerged, not shaped by comfort, but tempered by conflict. Mentuhotep II, the reunifier, the restorer of order. Through strategy, resilience, and unbreakable authority, he bound Upper and Lower Egypt under one crown once more. Temples breathed again, the land recovered, and from the ruins of the past, a new era rose.
the Middle Kingdom, Egypt's first great resurgence.
A new dynasty rose, one that transformed stability into strength. Amenemhat I, visionary and architect of renewal, founded a fresh capital, Ichjatawi, the heart of a reorganized nation. But shadows struck from within. His assassination became one of Egypt's most haunting warnings, proof that power is never safe from envy. Yet Egypt endured, for waiting in line was Senuseret I, a warrior king, master of diplomacy and conquest, who secured Nubia, reinforced Egypt's borders, and revived pyramid building as a symbol of restored tradition. Then came Senuseret III, a ruler so dominant his name travelled farther than Egypt's armies. A reformer, a conqueror, a king whose authority redefined the very structure of Egypt. Many believed he carried divine power even before death. But Egypt's rebirth was not defined by war alone. This era nurtured thinkers, poets, and scholars who shaped Egyptian ethics for generations. Texts of wisdom reminded the people: justice strengthens the heart, humility preserves the soul. Engineers extended irrigation canals, farmers revived the soil. Priests restored ancient rites that anchored Egypt's identity. What emerged was a nation reborn, not only in power, but in spirit. A civilization once fractured, now stood united and enduring. Yet beyond Egypt's renewed strength, distant dangers stirred. Trade routes stretched far. Foreign travelers reached Egyptian borders. Along with them came troubling rumors. New peoples rising in the east, new tactics, new weapons. Egypt did not yet know their name, but history would mark it, the Hyksos. Their arrival would transform Egypt once again and challenge everything the Middle Kingdom had restored. But that belongs to the next chapter. The Middle Kingdom achieved what few civilizations could. A nation devastated, rebuilt with purpose. A culture shaken, revived with clarity. A kingdom divided, reunited by will and discipline. Its rulers left behind innovations in administration, literature, engineering, and strategy that shaped the identity of Egypt for a millennium. This era was not merely a return, it was a triumph of resilience. For Egypt showed the world, a civilization can fall, but its spirit can rise stronger than before. The Middle Kingdom, not just Egypt's revival, but the rebirth of a world power.